you ever come home with something you didn't plan to buy? A gadget you saw on sale? A second jacket you didn't need? Something that seemed completely reasonable in the store, but slightly harder to explain once you got it home? It happens to almost everyone, and most people chalk it up to a weak moment or poor self-control. But the real explanation runs much deeper than that. The impulse to acquire things we don't need isn't a personal flaw. It's a predictable response to systems that have been carefully built to produce exactly that result. Let's see what's really going on, right here on Simply Understood. To understand why we buy things we don't need, you first have to understand what shopping actually does to the brain. When you encounter something desirable, a product that catches your eye, a deal that feels urgent, your brain releases dopamine. Dopamine is often described as the pleasure chemical, but that's slightly misleading. It's more accurately the anticipation chemical. It surges not when you receive something, but when you expect to. The moment you imagine owning the item is often more rewarding than actually owning it. This is why browsing can feel so satisfying, even when you buy nothing. Retailers have understood this mechanism for decades, even without knowing the neuroscience behind it. Store layouts are designed to maximize exposure. Products are placed at eye level for a reason. Music slows you down. Lighting creates warmth. The physical environment of a shop is an engineered experience, built to keep you comfortable and receptive long enough for desire to form. Online shopping amplifies everything. Algorithms track what you've looked at, what you've hovered over, what similar buyers have purchased. Recommendations feel personal because they're calibrated to your specific behavior. One-click purchasing removes the pause between impulse and transaction. That pause, the moment of friction where doubt could enter, has been deliberately eliminated. The easier a purchase is to complete, the less likely your rational mind is to intervene. Scarcity is another mechanism worth examining. When something is labeled limited edition, or when a timer counts down above a discounted price, a different part of the brain activates. Loss aversion, the psychological tendency to fear losing something more than you value gaining it, kicks in hard. You're no longer just buying a product, you're escaping a loss. The fear of missing out is a more powerful motivator than simple desire, and marketers have known this for a long time. Social context shapes purchasing behavior in ways that are easy to underestimate. Humans are deeply social creatures, and consumption has always carried a signaling function. What you own communicates something about who you are, your values, your status, your taste. This isn't vanity in the simple sense. It's a deeply wired social behavior. In environments where material goods serve as signals, acquiring them feels meaningful even when the object itself has no practical value. The purchase becomes a form of self-expression or self-protection, depending on the context. There's also the role of emotional state. Research consistently shows that people are more likely to make unnecessary purchases when they're stressed, bored, or experiencing low mood. Retail therapy is a real phenomenon. Buying something provides a brief sense of control in a moment when other things feel uncertain. The item itself matters less than the act of choosing and acquiring. It's the agency that feels good, not the product. What makes all of this particularly difficult to resist is that these mechanisms don't feel like manipulation while they're happening. The desire feels genuine. The decision feels free. That's precisely what makes the system so effective. We like to believe our purchases are rational choices made by independent minds. But every unnecessary item we bring home is also the outcome of decades of behavioral research, environmental design, and psychological precision, all quietly working in the background, making the next purchase feel just a little more inevitable.